Hey guys, it's Karen from Green Thumb Gourmet. I consider this my Christmas message to all of you, hoping that you have a wonderful Christmas with your friends and family and you enjoy this holiday season. And we're going to be going over some wintry vegetables today that you can be growing even in this season, which are fairly maintenance free, and you can still do all your baking and wrapping and fun Christmas things, traditions that you like to do with your family, and I like to do with mine. And I have a new granddaughter. She's only 8 months old, and I'm going to be enjoying that, all those things that entails this Christmas. But I'm still going to be gardening along with everything else. But these vegetables, which are the brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, broccolini, those type things, they can all be grown this time of the year, and they're fairly maintenance free. You have a little bit of maintenance, but they're not super hard to take care of and don't take a lot of time. So walk along with me into the garden today, and I'll show you how my broccoli, an update on my cabbages and what's going on with them and where you could possibly plant them yourself. So follow along with me and we'll talk a little bit about brassicas today. And at the end of this video, I'm going to highlight a really neat recipe that I like to make with some of the things that I grow in my garden. Today's highlight is going to be broccoli, so stick around to the end of the video and I'll be putting in the description all the ingredients in the directions so that you don't have to write them down if you're interested in making it for your family. So I have a few things growing out here, and like I was saying, as far as where to grow things, I put some broccoli in here. I have some smaller starts that I really didn't want to get rid of. I had planted a bunch of broccoli and cauliflower and I thinned them out, and so I stuck a few of the extras in here. And as you can see, I have all kinds of cabbages, red and green, and a little bit of broccoli planted over there as well as in the corner. You can plant these brassicas in virtually any space. I take the space around my pool and I plant those all the way down because I like to use that space in the winter. I don't really want it to go to waste. My summer flowers usually die off by this time, so I take that opportunity to use that space to grow cabbages. Your brassicas don't have to be covered. They don't really have to be protected. I planted these. That's broccoli, and that is red acre cabbage or red ruby cabbage, those are. And I have some red acre ones planted also. And I have Copenhagen, the green version. I have New Jersey green cabbage planted. That's also cauliflower there. And I use this whole space. I use this space around my pool because in the wintertime, spring flowers die off anyway, and I usually replace them with things that I can grow and eat. And you don't need a special space per se, just any kind of plant bed. As you see, this is just a long skinny bed, and I just utilize all that space all the way down, and they do beautifully. When I first plant these, I dig a huge hole, probably about 4 inches wide and 4 inches deep, and I put blood meal in there, and I put a balanced organic granular fertilizer in there, and I mix it all up with the dirt with a shovel. And you can put a transplant right in there and then cover it up, or you can put seeds. I usually start mine in seed trays, so I transplant them into the hole. Normally I water them in with fish emulsion and water combination. A couple of these are looking a little rough on the outside, but they're still forming heads. But for the most part, they're doing beautifully. And I planted these at all different phases, so they won't all be ready at once. That's beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful cabbage there. As you can see, this one is heading up nicely in the middle. There are 3 different kinds of cabbages. These are in the brassica family. They can take cold. They take the heat really well when you have to start these back in September. Like I said, I put them in little pots and start them from seed, and then I transplant them out. I seem to have better luck with the pest pressure not being as bad once I transplant them out in my yard in November. It's not as bad as far as bugs go, so that's how I tend to do it. And these are just little stragglers that were growing in places I wanted to thin out, but I stuck them in here as well because I really didn't want to waste the little plantings. So we'll see what happens with those. If you happen to do that, pull them out of one place, put them in another when they're kind of big like that, just keep watering them and put the same blood meal, organic, granular, balanced fertilizer in a hole and dig the hole pretty deep so that the soil's loose, and then fill it all back in and keep it well watered for a couple weeks. Normally they'll take and then they'll continue to grow. I have cauliflower, broccoli. They're kind of crowded in the back here, but what I do, as you see, I thin them out. I let the biggest, strongest stay, and I keep pulling things out of here, putting them in different places so that I don't waste any of these plants. And this is broccoli about 2 months after putting the transplants in. They were about 3-4 inches high when I first put them in. You'll see them at all different stages here. This one is broccoli's just beginning. And what I normally do with the broccoli is every 2 weeks, I water them with fish emulsion and water mixture to keep that liquid fertilizer readily available. So they love nitrogen, so give them a lot of nitrogen. Those are broccoli seedlings at different stages. This one's a little bit older. These are a little bit younger. But I do that so all of my broccoli isn't ready at the same time. I also have radicchio in here, which is a beautiful, beautiful little heading. Almost looks like a tiny cabbage that you add to salads, and they like the cool weather. So I put these in the front of my garden in the winter time here in Florida. And I'm zone 9B, so we do get frosts and we do get freezes, but broccoli will usually hold their own if you get a frost. A hard freeze, probably you might need to cover. Once they get bigger, like the ones over here, cauliflower, cabbages, like the ones I showed you over by the pool area, and I have cabbages in the corner there, those will be okay with a freeze. The only time broccoli needs to be covered in a freeze or a hard frost is if the heads are on them. The heads will get damaged, but the leaves normally will make it through okay. And here's some more broccoli that I transplanted into this bed. And these are cauliflower. I'll show you in the back. They're not heading up yet, but they should be in another week or two as they get bigger. And again, very simple. Once you get them growing, just keep them in watered once a week really well. Make sure they have some good drainage. And these are all growing at different, they're starting to head up, that they're all growing at different stages because I don't plant them all at once. I plant succession plant. I do have Sun King broccoli planted and Waltham heirloom. They do really, really well here in Northeast Florida garden. And there's another one heading up. What they'll do is they will give you little shoots once you cut the head off and it gets large enough. Leave the rest of the plant for a little while, because as you see right here, they grow little tiny shoots of little tiny broccoli heads on there. And you'll keep being able to get little florets of broccoli. See them on the side? So leave them in for a couple weeks after, and you'll continue to get a harvest from those. And they are so easy this time of year. You don't get bugs problems like you do late spring, early summer. So this is a great time to plant them in Florida, but very easy to care for. Just make sure they get enough sun and water them really well once a week, and you can basically leave them alone. It's as simple as that. You can kind of interplant those with other vegetables in the winter that grow at different stages. The radicchio doesn't need to be big and tall, so I usually put those on the edge. None of my cauliflower have headed up yet, but this time of year everything grows a little more slowly because the days are shorter. We like cabbage. I like to make chow chows. I'll be giving you a video of those and how to harvest cabbage and how to make chow chow, so tune in for future video on that. And it's really simple. Cabbage the same way. Fish emulsion and water mixture fertilizer every 2 weeks, besides what you put in the hole when you plant the transplants. Some cabbage just depends on what variety you pick. Some take a few months to head up and mature, and some are quicker than others. Just pay attention to, when you buy your seed packet, what it says on there as far as dates to maturity, and that'll help you decide when to plant them. Just make sure you start them in the early fall, late summer, if you're starting from seed, and get them going, because you want your plants to be in the ground and big enough to withstand the cold, frost, and even a freeze if it's not a super hard freeze. Here they can handle the weather without being covered, as long as they're large enough. They're hardy enough to make it through that, so that I don't have to cover them or anything here. You can plant cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower anywhere. You can plant them in a garden bed, in the ground, along plant beds, decorative plant beds in your yard that you're not using, in containers, as I've done here. You can plant them anywhere. Just have a little patience for them to grow. They're going to grow a little more slowly this time of year, but like I said, the reward is great, and plant them every 2 weeks or 3 weeks in succession. You'll have plenty of vegetables from your garden all winter long. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you found something interesting that you could apply to your own garden, or maybe you could share with someone who's interested in gardening to see how easy gardening really can be. It doesn't have to be intimidating. If you would drop a like, subscribe, or share with a friend, it helps my channel greatly if you do that. I appreciate all of you joining me, and I hope you have a joyous holiday with family and friends. And until next time, go out and make yourself a great day.